Hello everyone, and welcome to or back to the channel. I'm Origin Gaming, and in this video we're going to take a quick look at the developer Q&A that we got from two Bethesda employees today, and talk about the things that we learned from the questions and answers. Let's get straight into it with question number 1, which was whether or not you would be able to purchase houses in the main cities, which was confirmed by the developers. They also mentioned that there's at least one house that you can get as a quest reward. Question number 2 was if you pick the kid stuff trait, which allows you to have your parents as characters within the game, will they be static characters or will they be changed to look like you and your player character? And the developers confirmed that the parents will look like they were parents of the character that you've created. Question number 3 was about somebody who was new to Bethesda Studios games and was asking if there's anything specific they should know, which the developers simply answered by saying that they try and create all of their games for both new and existing players. Question number 4 was about how smuggling will work, and they basically confirmed what many of us already expected, which is that certain materials or items will be considered contraband, and you can hide those on your ship by buying certain modules and upgrades for your ship. One of the developers also made a joke about not getting caught with your harvested organs. I'm not sure if that was a joke or if that confirms that harvested organs are an actual contraband item in the game. Question number 5 was whether or not there was a jail system, in which the developers confirmed that that is the case, and they likened it to Skyrim's jail system, not Fallout's, where if you commit a crime, you're executed on sight. Instead, you might serve time or try and escape or try and pay your way out of it. I also assume that the crime will be based off system, just like in Skyrim it was based off of the hold. Question number 6 was whether or not time would pass in-game while you weren't playing. So, for example, will your outposts continue to gather resources while your game is turned off? And the answer is no. The time only passes within the game while you are actively playing it. Question number 7 was about being a double agent or working for multiple factions. The developers confirmed that all of the playable factions in the game can be played independently of one another, and also they hinted that there's a specific quest line for the Crimson Fleet that allows you to pose as a member of the Crimson Fleet in order to feed information to the United Colonies, and then you will be given the choice whether or not to side with the United Colonies or the Crimson Fleet. Question number 8 was whether or not you could play this game as a pacifist, to which the developers replied that they couldn't guarantee that every mission would be able to be accomplished by a pacifist mode, but that there are systems in place to be a more peaceful character and not always have to resort to violence. This being their speech check system, which seems to be somewhat closer to the way that it worked in Oblivion. And they also confirmed that there were non-lethal weapons in the game. Question number 9 was about the religions in the game, in which the developers responded saying that there are still real-world religions that are prevalent in the game, but that the main focus of the game is on the 3 new religions that they've created. The first of these 3 new religions is the Sanctum Universum, which seems to be almost like an explorer's religion, in which they connect the ideas of intergalactic space travel with the search for God, understanding that the technology of grav jumping is almost a way of God asking humans to reach out and find him. The Enlightened are actually an organized atheistic group that's focused on community service and humanitarian efforts. Finally, the Veyruun, or however it's pronounced, is a sort of giant serpent cult type thing that seems related to ancient mythologies of the concept of the world serpent consuming the world at the end of its time. Question number 10 was about how many companions there are, to which the developers responded that there are over 20 named companions that you can get, but there are 4 main kind of more fleshed out companions that have the most story and are all romanceable options, and they're all the 4 main members of Constellation. Question number 11 was about hiring crew and whether or not you'd have to pay them a regular salary or just a one-time fee, to which the developers responded, you just pay a one-time fee, and said that they bounced around the idea of having to pay them a regular salary, but decided that it would just be too much and bog down the gameplay. Question number 12 was also about companions, asking about whether or not they could level up. The developers confirmed that companions do not level up, but companion skills compound with the player skills. So for example, if you have an astrophysics skill and so does your companion, and you both have level 3 astrophysics, then you would have combined on your ship level 6 astrophysics abilities. Question number 13 was about what the 2 developers that did the Q&A's favorite part of their game was. Will Shen answered that his favorite part was finding content that he hadn't seen in a while and had forgotten about, or that he even hadn't seen, even as one of the main developers on the game. Whereas Emil basically said that he's seen everything in terms of the major quest lines, because that's part of his department, and so his answer was a little bit skewed by that, and because of that, he answered that his favorite part was actually watching these things develop and evolve over time from where they were back in the infancy to Starfield to where they are now in a finished game. Question number 14 was about the major book and or movie influences that played a big part in shaping the way that Starfield looks and feels. And they pointed out quite a few different things. Lots of them included 70s, 80s sci-fi kind of stuff like Star Wars and Battlestar Galactica. A lot of influences that you probably expect, while also some influences you might not, like history podcasts. Question number 15 was about some of the immersive details that make the world feel more real. And the developers pointed out stuff like the individual items, the detail that goes into all of the ships, and especially the detail that goes into the outfits. They were particularly proud of the way that the spacesuits especially have defined stitching, and you can tell that they look different based off the materials that they're made of. Overall, they seem to feel really good about this quote-unquote NASA punk style that they've been working with. Question number 16 was actually about the history of mechs in the Starfield universe, and we got some interesting stuff about the lore while also them confirming that mechs will not be playable within the game. Within the Starfield universe, both the Freestar Collective and the United Colonies used mechs during the Colony Wars. However, the Freestar Collective apparently had the better mechs, whereas the United Colonies actually focused on utilizing alien beasts in their Xeno Warfare division. Both the mechs and the alien beasts were banned by the armistice that ended the Colony War. This seems to me like they wanted to come up with an in-universe reason as to why there aren't mechs available in the game. Perhaps they originally intended for mechs to be in the game, but once they realized they didn't want them in the game for whatever reason, they wanted to actually have a lore explanation for it. The developers also heavily implied that there would be an explorable location that was a former battleground for mechs during the Colony War. And with that, we've covered all 16 questions from the Q&A today. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and if you enjoyed it, please consider giving this video a like or subscribing to the channel if you want to see more Starfield content in the future. Thanks again so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.